Welcome to The Cauldron, a podcast hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer, the creator of Ravens Vail. In each episode, Ed will have free-flowing conversations about horror, life, culture, and personal growth. Expect to hear from storytellers, authors, horror experts, life gurus, thought leaders, and influencers. The Cauldron is a place where concoctions of a lot of ideas are brewed down to potions that are sometimes important and useful, sometimes eccentric and bizarre, but always just what you need. The Cauldron Podcast may contain explicit language and thematic elements not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hey there, family. Welcome back to the Ravens Vail Cauldron Podcast as we gather around the mystical flames to hear whispers of ancient wisdom mingled with the warmth of our close-knit community. Here in this sanctuary of sorcery, we stoke the embers of curiosity and ignite the fires of imagination. I'm your host, Ed Bolden-Greer, and I'm joined by my partner in the paranormal, Jacob Garner, a.k.a. Frady Cat.
Hello, everyone.
Together, we will brew up a concoction of topics that resonate with the soul and spark the imagination. So as the cauldron simmers, sit back, relax, and let the magic unfold.
Hello, family. Welcome to the Ravens Vail Cauldron Podcast. In this October episode, we delve into a chilling reality that haunts the heart of the wealthiest nation on Earth. Titled, The Horror of Child Hunger. We confront a moral outrage that should not exist in a land celebrated for its prosperity and opportunities. In the United States, millions of children go to bed hungry every night. And this is not just a statistic, it is a harsh reality for the helpless children across the country, possibly even children you know or see regularly. This episode sheds light on this profound failure of our society and policies. Join us as we explore the necessity of universal free lunches in schools, not merely as a matter of convenience, but as a critical step towards rectifying this grave injustice. Together, we can uncover the dark secrets and work towards a brighter future for all children.
Hey, Jacob. How you doing, man?
I am doing wonderful.
Well, that's good. I missed you.
Dude,
I've seen you at work, but not recording for the past 2 weeks.
Dude, I miss being in the G spot.
I bet you do.
I'm telling you, it really screwed up my schedule to not come in here and record a couple episodes with you. How you been, man?
Good, busy.
I know.
As you know, the world's about to unfold into our busiest season of the year. Gosh, I can't believe in just a few days it's going to be October.
I know. It felt like it couldn't get here soon enough, and now it feels like it's getting here way too quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always astounded that when let me back up here. Okay. I am at a loss for words, and that's not normal. It was about 2.5 weeks ago. I was on my way into work.
Yeah.
It was kind of warm outside, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of one of the first cooler days. And so I got ready, got out of the house, got in the car, decided I was going to roll my windows down, which with my allergies, I don't do very often.
Yeah.
But I rolled the windows down because it was such a nice day. And I started down Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it hit me.
What?
That feeling.
Oh,
that
yeah.
fall feeling.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That I don't know what it was. It was just everything. The way the sun was out, the mild temperatures. I saw just everything was fall all of a sudden. It just happened all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was driving to work, what was it, Saturday or Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
And the leaves were already starting to change to that kind of burnt fall orange.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
baby.
And I was looking in my rearview mirror as I was getting ready to merge lanes, and I had this perfect image of just some leaves falling and then tumbling on the ground, and I went, oh shit.
It's fall.
It's fall, baby.
Yeah. Not to mention UT football just brings it on.
I'm telling you. By the way, I got to go to that Kent State game.
I know you did.
Oh, man. I got to take Zach.
I know you did.
Zach had never been to a college football game in his life, and we had a blast.
That's phenomenal. However, I will say, you do know I kind of wanted to go to that game.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'd rather you take Zach, man. Oh, well, I got a PSA for the TSA.
Okay. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, that's good.
TSA has finally set a final deadline of May 7th, 2025 for enforcement of the federal government's Real ID mandate. But now it's going to have some flexibility. Okay?
Oh, yeah. That's that, you get like a gold star.
Gold star. You already got yours. Jared and I, man, we were supposed to go this past Friday, and the world kind of, hit us in the face.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but if you guys haven't already, when you do get your Real ID while you're at the DMV, man, there's a lot of acronyms in this little announcement, but while you're there, not only updating your Real ID.
Wait, register to VOTE.
VOTE, exactly. There you go. It's all full circle. Yeah, you can get registered to vote at the same time that you're doing that. I will go ahead and give people a heads up. I registered to vote when I got my license renewed and got my Real ID, everything confirmed. They told me it would take 2 to 3 weeks for the voter registration card to come in to the mail. It took 8.
8.
And when I called the election office here in Knoxville, they said that they had a massive influx of first-time voters. So if you did get registered to vote, you might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, that massive influx was probably because of, what's that female singer's name that Trump hates?
She...
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. You mean Travis Kelce's girlfriend? Yeah.
Shout out to Taylor Swift. We're really excited and encouraged by her voter registration efforts.
It crashed the government registration websites. It was a huge influx. I think I read somewhere that in specifically one state, I forget which state it was, but it not only crashed the website, they had a massive influx onto their server that increased it by more than 400% of what it normally would see around this time. Which is just, those Swifties, man.
Well, they're registering people at concerts.
Yeah.
Minnesota had a spike. I mean, it was just. I just think that it's amazing.
I mean, how fucking stupid do you actually have to be and say something just in all caps? Well, that's how he communicates with just I hate Taylor Swift. It's like, dude. I don't even care if you're talking about politics. They are the most rabid.
It was also Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
So talk about two separate, different kinds of fan bases to piss off. Anyway, we're gonna. Oh God, we got to move on.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Yeah,
I'm gonna get in so much trouble. Harris is really pushing though for that second debate.
Oh man,
and Trump's declining
because he lost the first one pretty handedly. I mean,
yeah, but I think he's declining in more than one way.
As if anybody else needed a reason to vote, he did say, of course he said this in the past, but he did say that if he loses, he won't be running again in 2028. And I was like, damn, dude, I was already going to vote. But okay, let's see the deal.
But he also said that if he's elected this time, we'll never need to vote again.
Yeah.
Which really concerns me.
You know, you'll get a kick out of this, speaking of the Harris debate. So your favorite podcaster, Joe Rogan, he released an episode with Al. He released an episode.
I hope that didn't hurt too bad.
He released an episode with Tom Segura, if you know who that is. He's a comedian.
Yeah, I know who it is.
And it was right after the debate. And even Joe Rogan, he took like 15 minutes in that episode to be like, hey, man, she crushed Trump in that debate. And I was like, oh, shit. Things are getting bad if, Joe Rogan's like, damn. Harris actually did pretty good.
Well, I was reading the news this morning, and I always really, it's going to show how much of a nerd I am, I really enjoy the U.S. News and World Report, especially their ranking system. They came out, and I'm just going to go over 2 if you don't care.
Yeah, I don't mind, man.
Well, kind of 3. First, the number 1 college or university is Princeton University.
Like nationally or globally?
I think it's nationally and globally.
Well, I mean, no shocker. Princeton's awesome.
No shocker. Now, this one is nationally. This next ranking is national. Utah was ranked the best state in the country.
Utah?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
And they look at all the stuff like education, economy, everything.
Oh, okay.
And they amalgamate that into, they also list all the bests of all those too. Interesting. We live here in Tennessee, and sometimes we think it's the worst state to live in. Sometimes we think it's the best state to live in.
Yeah.
We're actually the 27th best state to live in, which is not bad.
Dude, that's not bad at all.
We beat Texas.
Hey, that's all that matters,
And Georgia.
I'm sure that, like Mississippi probably ranks. There used to be a saying in school all the time where they would say, "Thank God for Mississippi."
Yep.
Because
otherwise,
yeah, somebody's got to take last place. 27 is not bad.
No, I'm going to be okay with it. I will make one college football reference today.
Go for it.
When in just a couple weeks, it's going to be October 12th.
Oh, yeah.
And that's Appalachian Horror Fest. And what I'm going to need you to do when you show up, Jacob is our manager of the volunteers.
Yeah. For AHF,
For
not the
AHF,
actual
not the actual Knoxville volunteers, UT volunteers. But I'm going to need you to give me your phone when you come in.
Oh, dude, I knew you were going to say something like that.
Because I don't want to know. I don't want to know till it's done, and that's very unusual, but I don't want to be on stage and you looking at your phone and us beating Florida and you go, woohoo!
Yeah. Well, if we start to lose, which I really don't think we will, it's going to suck the energy out of me. I'd be like, our next performance.
So we'll just leave that in the car. How about that?
Okay, I'll do that for you.
Now, this next item that's on our outline, I want to say it's my fault.
Okay.
I clicked on an article. It was clickbait, but I quickly found out it was interesting.
Okay.
I was unaware, and I in no way am going to list every single one of the ones that was on the list. Okay. I just started thinking when I was reviewing it, I wonder if Jacob knows any of these people.
Well, what's the list?
Well, it's deaths that happened in celebrity deaths that happened in 2024 so far.
I might know a couple.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure you'll know this first one.
Okay.
Okay. Award-winning actor James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
God, that sucks.
He died September 9th at the age of 93. He just had the best voice.
Oh man.
I mean, he is the voice of Darth Vader.
Iconic.
And from Mufasa from Disney's The Lion King.
Where I remember him the most, honestly, was his role as the dad in Eddie Murphy's movie Coming to
America. Fantastic. Now, this one you may not know. This one kind of personally affected me because I remember watching every episode of this.
Okay.
Legendary TV personality Phil Donahue, who had a talk show kind of like ours, except it was a live talk show. It ran from 1967 to 1996.
Damn, that's a big run.
Yeah, died August 19th after a long illness at the age of 88. Do you know who Phil Donahue is?
The name Donahue sounds familiar, but I don't think I ever watched any of his show.
He was a big deal for a long time. He was around about the same time, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to know this, as Sally Jesse Raphael.
No idea.
Okay.
It's a fun name.
It is. It was really fun. One time for Halloween, I dressed up in drag. And I said, never more, never doing it again. Not because it was unflattering or I wasn't happy with it or it was hard or any of that stuff, but I was trying to be, glamorous.
Yeah.
And they told me I looked like Sally Jesse Raphael.
Is that a bad thing? I don't know what she looks
Well, it
like.
wasn't bad. It just wasn't what I was going for.
Oh.
Do you know who Shannon Daughtery is?
I do not. Name sounds familiar.
Yep. She was an actress who starred in Beverly Hills 90210 and Charmed.
I probably know her from Charmed then.
Yeah. She died on July 13th at the age of 53. She had been battling breast cancer for about 6 years.
Oh, that's young. 53. Yep.
Now, this next one, it hit hard. Okay. Richard Simmons.
Oh my God. No, yeah.
He was a
I know who he
1980s workout personality. He defined workout videos.
Oh, my
like
God.
he's almost personally responsible for the workout world, basically.
He made it fun.
Yeah.
He was just fun to watch. Dude, his guest appearance on Whose Line Is It Anyway is one of the funniest episodes that's ever been recorded.
He died July 13th at the age of 76. Then, now, I think you know this one.
Yeah.
Although it's a long shot, but I think you know because I think you've said something about it before. Sex therapist Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I know who she is.
Funny lady.
She's really funny. Very
super intelligent, super insightful. She died July 12th at the age of 96.
Yeah, I actually do know who this is, mainly because she's written a lot of pivotal papers. She was a titan in that field.
Yep.
If anybody listening is interested, the New York Times has a podcast called The Daily, and they did an interview with her, about a 35-minute interview with Dr. Westheimer a couple months back. I guarantee that if you listen to it, it'll make an impact on you, for sure, and your relationships.
Now,
rest in peace, dude.
Yeah. This next death, we're going to take a few seconds of silence.
Okay.
I want to say this lady was the queen of horror. Mm-hmm. Shelley Duvall, best known for her role in The Shining, died July 11th. She was 75 years old. I had no idea she was that old.
I didn't know either.
This next one, go ahead.
I will say, too, when we got the announcement that Shelley Duvall passed away, I threw out this typical thing that you always hear. Like, man, Kubrick treated her like shit on the cast of The Shining, when they were filming it. But you actually gave me some insight on it.
Yeah, she was a big method actress, and she kind of asked for all that.
Really?
Like, he might have gone overboard in some areas, but she was all about being sleep deprived so that she would look a certain way and respond a certain way, and the jump scares kept her in that nervous energy mood, and she had kind of asked for some of that.
Well, I mean, and the proof's in the pudding too. I mean, her portrayal of the wife in The Shining is, I mean, it's a monolith in the horror acting community. Yep. I think
the next one I think was hard. I remember I used to collect sports cards, especially baseball cards. They were my favorite.
Yeah.
And I always looked for a Willie Mays card.
Yeah.
You know?
He passed away, too.
June 18th. He was 93 years old.
It was incredible, too, because you know me, I'm a huge baseball fan, sports fan in general. And I don't have time to sit down and watch entire baseball games because they're like 2.5, 3 hours long. But I watched highlights of the games that I wanted to watch. Every single announcer, when they found out that Willie Mays had passed away, they all made an announcement, and everybody, it didn't matter if he played for their team or not, everybody stood up in the stadium wherever they announced it and clapped. Yep. I mean, truly broke a lot of barriers.
Not clapping that he died, but showing respect.
Showing respect for the guy.
He was an icon. Now, this next one also hit me hard because I'm a fan, big fan, and I considered her the grandmother, if you will, of our nation. Never before had a grandmother or a mom been held in such high regard as Michelle Obama's mama, Marion Robertson.
Yeah.
When they were in office. She died on May 31st at the age of 86, and I will say that was a hard day.
I think while it was hard, we can take solace in the fact at 86 years old, she saw the country transform in such a way, and just the emotional impact to think that she grew up during very racially divided times. She lived through the civil rights movement, and then to see her own daughter become the first lady, the president of the United States. I mean, Rest in power. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
incredible.
So that's all the ones that I thought I wanted to bring, you
Yeah.
know, the ones that really impacted me. And I want to kind of change course here, if you don't mind.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, let's.
Something that angered me. Those hurt my feelings. Those made me sad. But something that really has angered me, and I've watched it about 4 times.
Okay.
Okay? I know. Probably I shouldn't do that. There was an interview that Dana Bash from CNN did with J.D. Vance, where he defended false claims against Haitians.
I remember. Yeah, I saw that clip too. Yeah.
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. Eating the cats.
I thought you would like that.
I'm glad somebody's trying to make light of just a fucked up thing.
I
catchy.
it is. I think that they're genius. There's a heavy metal version of it.
Of course there
There's
is.
just all kinds of things out there. But he just lied. He admitted he just lied. He also lied about the spike in HIV in Springfield because of the Haitian immigrants. And according to the Ohio Department of Health, that's not true.
Even the city manager, if you remember the debate with Trump, David Muir of MSNBC, the moment Trump made that claim that they were eating cats and dogs in Springfield, they immediately fact-checked him and was like, we spoke to the city manager. He says there's 0 credible reports of this.
0 dogs and cats being eaten.
Let me just hop up on a soapbox real quick. As a guy who, I know I'm white, right? But as a guy who grew up in the South being Filipino, I get so sick and tired of any time a group of people, typically white people, immediately jump on this xenophobic, racist bullshit that just because we are not white, we eat fucking domesticated household pets. And whether it's Asians, that was typically the joke, that we love eating cats and dogs. Now you see it with Haitians. It's the same old shit, man. I'm going to hop back off the soapbox, but I'm just so sick and tired of it. It's 2024, man. Why are we still hearing shit like this?
Well, I'm going to hop back on that soapbox if you'll leave it there for a minute, because Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson,
Oh, my God.
the North Carolina gubernatorial candidate, has just committed political, I'm going to say it, I might get censored for it, but suicide.
No, really, yeah. Can you? God. You really can't make it up.
You cannot make this up. The worst horror novel I can write, I cannot make this kind of stuff up. On a porn site, message board saying that he was a black Nazi and that he would be a member of the KKK if they would accept him.
Yeah.
I don't.
I did just surface level knowledge, but the secondhand cringe made me close my laptop last night because I just couldn't handle it. But apparently he was on this website called blackplanet.net or .com, which is a porn website.
Pretty sure you were on the site.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, he's sullying my good name or my community on this website. No, but they have a comment section on porn websites, which I find absolutely hysterical that they even have them. But he was posting all of these wild comments about being a black Nazi, that slavery actually wasn't bad, that he wants to bring it back.
And that he would own slaves, a couple of slaves if he could.
Oh, yeah. And people are going to say, oh, it's fake, that you can't really attribute these comments to him. I'll just let you do with this information what you want, okay? On the website, they allow themselves to have usernames, which is also kind of funny because from what I was reading, you could just post anonymously if you wanted to. But no, Robinson definitely wanted to be a personal member of this community. He used the handle Mini Soldier, which was spelt in a very specific way, which I thought was interesting. And in 2010, he made all of these comments underneath. This is something that the media is not really reporting either, which I find kind of crazy. But some of the videos were the kink or the fetish was race play.
Yeah.
Which is really just kind of fucked. But the name Mini Soldier was the exact same name that he used on this porn website that he also used for his Twitter, his Instagram. He had it linked on his Facebook.
Yep.
The profile on the porn website also gave his state that he lived in, what his mom did for a living, like where she worked, which I thought was kind of odd.
Yeah. One of the things that you have to consider in this is that it wasn't just in 2010 that this was happening. He had been on this site for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And so anyway, I just think that that's just disgusting. And I don't really know what else to say about that. But so child hunger and school lunches.
Yeah, let's segue to that.
Let's segue to something I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say that on behalf of myself and Jared and Jacob and his partners, and I have permission to do all of this, on behalf of the cast and crew and team at the Ravens Vail Podcast Network, Small Raven Media, the Bolden Group, on behalf of all the employees and everything, we are today denouncing child hunger in America.
Yeah.
We think that it's ridiculous that approximately 13 million children in the United States have food insecurities in their household. And we think that in a country as great as America, the United States of America, that no child should go hungry.
No.
So that's why we've decided to do this episode today, because we just don't think that it's right. It hit my heart to talk about this after watching a YouTube content creator talk about it, and I saw that there were children, and not the children that were starving, but there were children out here who have more integrity than our government, than our school systems, than our state have ever had, because they were out working like at lemonade stands and doing things like that to raise money to pay off the school lunch debt of their classmates.
It's ridiculous. Even that term is disgusting to me. School lunch debt? What are we doing?
I know. And why do we think it's okay that we belittle children who can't pay for lunch by making them get stamps that say no on their hand and wear bracelets?
Yeah. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
What it does, too, which I think is even more sinister and pervasive when I was thinking about this, because this is actually something I had school lunch debt. I got free and reduced lunches after my dad passed away, and my mom didn't have a job. She moved back to California, okay? I remember that the average price of a school lunch in my high school in the Loudon was about $4.75, depending on what you got, right? Me and Zach and my sister qualified for reduced lunch, and we only had to pay 55 cents. Okay.
But if you don't got 55 cents.
Which sometimes we didn't. Sometimes me and Zach would have to.
You okay, man?
Sometimes me and my twin used to hang around the soda machines and the vending machines. And when nobody else would be.
Okay, guys, we had to take a break, and we're back. Jacob, you were talking about your experience.
Yeah, and it was humiliating that we had to scrounge around, and then it made it even more humiliating when everybody else, when you walked through the line, pulled out their money or had money on their accounts, and then me and Zach had to drop change. So everybody knew. Back then they didn't have stamps and they didn't have bracelets to signify that you got free lunch or that you had discounted lunch. But the moment those quarters hit the counter, people knew you were poor, you know? And what that does to a kid, they'll make fun of kids for anything. And they'll definitely make fun of you for being poor.
Kids are cruel.
Yeah. I will say that in a weird way, I am thankful for that experience in a fucked up sense, right? Because it taught me to never take food given to me for granted. And this topic, there's an ugly reality to it that if you want to stick your head in the sand, that's your fucking problem. But I want anybody that's listening to know that even though your child may be taken care of, you're sending them to school with lunch or you've got money on their account, their classmates are probably not as lucky.
That's right.
I just want, real quick, to go over some stats that will really drive it home. Okay.
I want to give a really good point here real quick.
Go for it.
There are countries in this world, Finland, Sweden, and Estonia, that provide free meals for all their kids.
Yeah. And guess what?
We did it.
Yeah.
The United States did it during the pandemic. We provided free lunches to all our kids, and we saw that fiscally it didn't hurt anything.
No, it was very affordable. And, maybe some of our listeners already know this too, but there's a lot of kids that the only meals that they're going to get are at school. So when they go home on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday in particular, because maybe they got food on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there's nothing in the cupboard, nothing in the pantry. And me and Zach grew up so poor that we used to play rock, paper, scissors. There's a joke, right, that, oh, your mama's so poor, she used to eat cereal with a fork to save the milk.
You've told me that story.
Yeah. We used to play rock, paper, scissors on the weekends to see who got to eat their cereal first, and then the loser got the leftover milk to eat their cereal.
And I think that it's absolutely disgusting in this country that teachers and citizens pull together to put backpacks together in some areas so that they can send things home so kids aren't starving on the weekends.
Yeah. Think about this, too. Even as grown adults now, Ed, how much does debt stress the average American adult
Absolutely.
out? Now, imagine you're a child. Your brain is still developing. You're figuring out how the world works. And before you can even begin to process what it means to be an adult, as a child, you already are in debt because of your school lunch. I mean, what does that do to the psyche, man?
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, I thought this topic was going to be hard, but I didn't realize it was going to be this hard.
Man, the amount of notes that I wrote down, and it was painful to talk about this from my own perspective, but God, this is what it looks like. This is what it has looked like. And that's personally why I really respect Tim Walz.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he looked at this reality and said, absolutely not. This is unacceptable. We are the wealthiest nation in the world, and he signed a bill to make sure that the children in his state got free lunch and free breakfast.
I just think back, like, when I was in school, there were kids who didn't have money for lunch.
Yeah.
And the school didn't not feed them.
Really?
Yeah. But remember, this was a while ago. The school, if they didn't have free lunch and a teacher noticed, a teacher would go fill out the paperwork to send home so that the parents could sign it and the kid could get on free lunch or reduced lunch. And I know, because I knew who the principal was, that there was a fund that the teachers all contributed to make sure every kid ate. And there were a couple of kids that I was really good friends with who didn't have money, like never had money.
Yeah.
And I always had money. Let me be clear. The privilege is not missed, though, because my dad grew up an orphan, and he didn't have the luxury of going to school and having lunches. And he told us about so many times that he didn't have food. So the idea that a church will build $1 million building and that there are unhomed people freezing to death on the streets here in Knoxville and around the country, and that there are children, and I'm going to say adults too, who by no fault of their own are starving, infuriates me. People may say, well, why aren't you doing something about it? I do.
Yeah.
I do things about it. But I'm only one person.
You and I are not in government positions of power.
That's right.
There's a church down the street from where I live, right? And it's
Which is down the street from where I live.
Yeah. And on Tuesdays and I think Saturday mornings, they have a food bank. And that food bank line, since I moved there about 1.5 years ago, gets bigger and bigger.
Yep.
There's children standing out there. There's parents, obviously, in need. And I think that, well, let me just go over what we spent.
Yep.
Okay? Let me just, when people say, oh, how are we going to afford it, Jacob? How could we possibly afford it? Here's some fun facts for you. In 2023, the United States military budget was approximately $858 billion with a B dollars. Okay, that covers a lot of military contracts that we have with Boeing, Lockheed Martin. That covers a lot of actual training for the military, all of our ridiculous consultings that we pay for, private security, et cetera, et cetera. $858 billion is spent in 2023 to blow up various third world countries that we are currently occupying or trying to liberate, right? In 2023, the same year, the federal spending on public education in the United States was around $90 billion. I want to make that. I'm going to read it again. 858 is spent on bombs, guns, and ammunition.
$858 billion. And I want that protection.
I do too. But can we not shave a little bit off of it?
1/100 millionth of a percent.
And that 90 billion, by the way, that does go towards public education. Only a small fraction of that goes to the nutritional benefits for the students. The rest goes towards teacher salary, school supplies, equipment, keeping the lights on. Exactly. $90 billion is all we spent. Okay. If you want to act like we don't have the money, look at the books. Okay. And we've used this term a few times, and I think you can use the context clues to understand what it means. But the definition of being food insecure, it refers to situations where individuals, and in this case, we're talking about children, in households that lack reliable access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. Okay? It can come from a lot of different factors. We saw a massive uptick after the pandemic. A lot of people lost their jobs. The common trope, I guess you could say, was the grocery budget went towards the rent.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, let's be honest, especially here in Knoxville and East Tennessee, where the housing market, because of the pandemic, after the pandemic, we went from having the cheapest rent in the country to having the most expensive rent in the country.
Yeah. And it was difficult for me as a single human in Knoxville to afford my rent when the price effectively doubled after my lease ran out. And it put a strain on it, where I used to shop, and again, a little bit of privilege now, but I used to shop at places like Target and Whole Foods because I made it, essentially, and I promised myself as a kid that I was going to be able to shop in these fancy grocery stores, right? And once the cost of living got so expensive, I found myself having to shop back at grocery outlets like UGO, Aldi's, and then Walmart again, which I'm not saying anything bad about anybody that has to shop there. I'm not acting like I'm above you. I'm now in the aisle with you again. And it still hurts.
I will
Saturday,
say Aldi has good food.
They have fantastic food. The produce is actually really good too. I went grocery shopping with one of my partners Saturday, right? We were in Walmart. There was a man and a woman standing there with this little girl who grabbed something off the shelf. It was in the chip aisle, essentially. And the mother said, well, do you have the money for that? Which is something my mom used to say a lot when we'd go to the grocery store. But to see that little girl get so deflated and have to put it back on the shelf, we're talking about a bag of fucking chips, guys. Yeah. Like, it's just...
Now, I will say this in the parents' defense, my parents did the same thing.
Yeah.
And my parents could afford the chips, but they were trying to get me to understand because they were both raised dirt poor.
Yeah.
They were trying to get me to understand the value of money.
Yeah.
And as bad as you hear me harp on my parents and about the bad times I've had with my family over who I am, they also taught me a lot of stuff. They were not the people who got money and decided they were elitists. They were the people who said, you need to learn your place in this world, and it's not being a snob.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of like, I guess, reference the Kamala Harris campaign, your parents, having experienced that, said to themselves and you, we're not going back.
Right.
Not going back.
We're not going back.
So talking about food insecurity, here's some more stats. In 2023, approximately 13 million children in the United States were estimated to be food insecure. In 2019, right before the pandemic, that number was around 7 million. So it's effectively doubled.
Yep.
And that is what we are estimating. The number could be much higher. And our wonderful 27th ranked state of Tennessee, about 17% of children are estimated to be food insecure. So that roughly translates to, in our own state, 400,000 children don't know when their next meal is coming or what it will look like. So I don't know what else to say about this topic besides that it's disgusting. We have the numbers. You guys have heard my personal account on it. We've heard Ed's. If you guys do want to effectively do something for this, I know me and Ed are very biased. There is only one political party in this nation that is actively pushing for free school lunches.
Yep. Can you imagine having to sit in class with your stomach empty?
Been there.
Not knowing when the next time you're going to have food is.
Yeah.
And being able to concentrate.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it appears that our country wants to keep poor people poor.
Yeah. Because it makes us desperate, you know? There was a reason why I immediately started working as soon as I could, whether it was under the table or working, quote unquote, like a menial job. And it was really ironic that my first official job, I worked at a grocery store. And I got to see, I was so fucking jealous. I was already homeless at this point. And I was so jealous at how these people would come in, not with just one grocery cart full, but they'd have another one pushing behind them, filled with food, brand name stuff. I didn't have brand name cereal till I was 14 years old, and it changed my life. I was like, oh shit, this is better
What's
than
your
malto
favorite
meal.
cereal?
My favorite? Right now, I don't have that much of a sweet tooth. I think my favorite cereal is Raisin Bran. I don't add sugar to it. I just think it's pretty good.
It's just pretty good by itself.
Yeah, Fruit Loops used to be my jam back in the day, and then I guess you are what you eat.
You might say that.
Did you ever, let's just change gears a little bit because that's a heavy topic. I just wanted to know, did you ever pack a lunch or have like a cool lunchbox as a kid?
Yes. I have some allergies, food allergies to
I know.
tomatoes. So my mother kept close eye on what the menu was going to be.
At the school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so on about 3 days out of the 5, I took pack lunch.
Yeah.
And
What did it look like? What'd you guys have? Like PB&J and an apple?
for me, it was always a peanut butter sandwich because you know me and peanut butter. Like I have a jar of peanut butter in my office that is my snack.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, just on a spoon that I could live on it.
Oh, yeah.
So peanut butter sandwich, a little, because they don't send a lot of food, but a peanut butter sandwich that was always cut in 4 pieces.
4 pieces?
Triangles.
Okay.
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah.
And some, at that time, Pringles was my favorite. I wasn't into flavors or anything much as a kid.
Just original Pringles?
Just original Pringles. And typically some kind of a Little Debbie snack cake.
Oh, that's good.
And I have never enjoyed milk. Like, I've never drank milk in my life. I grew up at a time where they were trying to force me, and my mother had a fit about it. So my mother would send a juice box.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and not the kind of juice boxes we have today, like the little orange juice boxes.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And yes, I had the most fabulous lunch boxes.
What was it? What was your favorite?
Well, my very first lunchbox was like my papa's. He had like a lunchbox that was just like a construction worker lunchbox.
Oh, like a classic lunch pail.
Yeah, just a lunch pail. And so that was my first one because I wanted to be like my papa.
Of course.
But then everybody else at school had these fancy ones, so I wanted a fancy one. And you used to be able, and I'm sure you still can, I just don't have access to looking at that stuff when I go, or don't have time to look for that stuff. But you would have a branded lunchbox that had like the thermos inside.
Oh yeah.
And so once I got that kind, my mom would put soup in there too for me. Okay. And I chose a lunchbox that had like the soup container, not the drink thermos. Yeah. Okay. So to keep things hot. And my first one was the Bionic Man, Steve, the Bionic Man.
We can rebuild him.
Yeah, we can rebuild him. And then later on, I got an Addams Family lunchbox.
Hell yeah.
So
I got a funny story about a lunchbox. I can tell you real quick. So we used to really want Lunchables. That was like the cool kid food. If you were bringing lunch from home, you had to have the Lunchables. We were too poor.
That was our Lunchables. The peanut butter sandwich and a little baggie of chips.
My dad was like, hey, we're too fucking poor for this shit. So what he would do is that we used to get food stamps. And back in the day, they used to say, oh, you're on government cheese. Well, like, that's kind of where it came from. Because you could get like a chunk of sharp cheddar.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So he would buy the sharp cheddar block. He would buy the pack of bologna and a big sleeve of store brand, like crackers, saltines. And then he would, every night before we went to school, would cut it up, and we would have our own Lunchables. So that way...
Oh, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and...
I'd rather have that Lunchable than the one that's packed.
Yeah, it was actually really cool, mainly because he let us also pick our own lunch boxes, because he's like, we're going to be saving money because I'm not going to need you guys the brand name Lunchables. So Zach picked one of like... It was like a gray lunchbox that was kind of... it felt like one of those windbreaker jacket
soft
material.
side.
Yeah. And he had one of like it was like a skull or something cool. But at the same time that I was able to get it, that hit song, I don't know the name of the band or the name of the song, but the chorus went, "You're my butterfly, sugar, baby," was like huge. That was playing all the time. So as a young boy, I picked a girl's lunchbox that had a massive butterfly on it.
So just so you know, that song is by Crazy Town.
Crazy Town, yep.
And it's called Butterfly Sugar Baby.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure anybody that grew up and is around my age knows exactly what song that was. So I thought it'd be really sick to have a butterfly on my lunchbox. So I bought this it was like a kind of like a bluish orange with this giant pink butterfly on the front. And I thought everybody was going to get the same reference I was trying to make. I got bullied relentlessly to the point to where when I would set my lunchbox,
You put it down?
I would put it face down. And my dad was like, "You sure you want this song?" I was like, "Yeah, Dad, it's like the song. We love the song." And then a week later, after being bullied all the time, I was like, "Dad, can I please get another lunchbox?" He's like, "We don't have the fucking money for that. You got to keep it till next year." Hey there, family. This is Jacob Garner, one of the hosts of the Ravens Vail Cauldron. I wanted to tell you about a fantastic jewel in Knoxville, Tennessee. Central Cinema is Knoxville's only independent movie theater located just a mile north of downtown in the heart of historic Happy Holler. Owned and operated by the founders of the long-running Knoxville Horror Film Fest, Central Cinema programs an eclectic mix of first-run independent films, cult classics, audience favorites, and community-driven screening events. Not to mention its regular lineup of live events, including stand-up comedy, poetry slams, and interactive discussions. To find out more, including their schedule of upcoming events, visit centralcinema865.com.
So, Jacob, let's shift even farther over.
Gotcha.
Are you ready for your Would You Rather question?
I certainly am. Let's do it.
Let's lighten the air a little bit.
Okay.
Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest person?
I'm already the funniest person in the room, and I'm definitely not the smartest, so I'm going to go with funniest.
Oh.
That seemed like an easy choice for me. I like that one. I would rather make people laugh by something that I said as opposed to being like, I never thought of it that way.
Okay.
All right, I got one for you. Okay. Would you rather be stuck on a deserted island with someone you love or someone you hate? And let's say it's like for at least 5 to 10 years.
Okay. So I'm not going to have a good answer for this question
Okay.
because I'm going to have to answer it 2 different ways.
Okay.
My soul just
Yeah.
won't. Because my first response is if I'm going to be stuck on a desert island, I want to be on there with somebody I love. And hopefully that could be Jared.
But the water thing.
Right?
You know?
Yes. But then my mind goes, but I don't want Jared to be stuck on a deserted island. But then I think about things like, I love Jacob. Maybe I could be stuck on a deserted island with Jacob. But that puts Jacob on a deserted island.
Yeah,
and his
that's true.
life essentially stops.
I like the way you're looking at that, yeah. So are you going to hate pick somebody that you're like, they deserve to be on a deserted island?
Well, I don't know anybody that I hate, really. I don't. I mean,
listeners can't see it, but I'm really
He's
looking over
eyeing
my
me.
glasses like not one, you can't name one person you hate.
I can't. I mean, we could even talk about Trump, and I don't hate him. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, I do too,
know?
actually.
I think that I think that
He's a sad, angry man.
he is, yeah. But if there was someone I hated, I think that it would be a challenge to be on an island with somebody I hated. Like, I wouldn't have to necessarily interact with them, but I think I would go into that going, by the time I leave, I'm not going to hate you.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out what it is about me that makes me hate you. And if it's your actions, I shouldn't be judging your actions enough to make me hate you.
I see that.
That would be a challenge, and maybe I wouldn't like it once I was doing it. And I would hate to be away from you and Jared and everybody I love, but I would also hate to subject you to that desert island because, or I guess you said deserted island, I said desert island. Maybe the deserted island has lots of fresh water, so maybe I'd want somebody I love, paradise.
I just had a funny idea, like an image pop in my head. If you and I were stuck on this island, we would eventually go insane, and then I picture us wearing like coconut shells as headphones, and we're talking into like a piece of bamboo. Like, welcome back to the Ravens Vail Cauldron Podcast. Coming live from the desert island in the Caribbean or something. You ready for a dad joke, Ed?
I guess I am.
Okay. What did the school janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies.
I think we might have seen that one before. I think that one slipped through accidentally as a double.
Yeah, I'm sure
I
if
think
you listen to the dad joke episode. I
it's
liked it,
still
though.
awful.
Yeah.
I love it. It's still awful.
All right, family, let's dip down deep into the cauldron and see what the brew has in store for us today. We have just one item in the brew today. This one is entitled Care and Control. Dear Cauldron, my name is Cynthia, and I am an avid listener of the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast. I was fortunate enough to meet both of you at CreepyCon this year. Shout out.
Shout out.
I love your discussions on the problems of society today, and I find them enlightening and entertaining. And I truly appreciate the unique perspectives you bring to each episode. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Appreciate that.
Cynthia.
I am writing to you today with a somewhat unusual request. We love those. In our daily lives, we often encounter individuals who can be quite challenging to deal with, commonly referred to as Karens.
Oh, no. Okay, so before you go on, I just want to state that most people named Karen are wonderful.
Lovely people, yeah.
I'm sorry we picked the name Karen as a society, but continue.
Yeah. These interactions can be frustrating and draining, and I find myself struggling to handle them in a way that aligns with my personal values and maintains my peace of mind. Given your insightful takes on various aspects of life, I would love to hear your personal philosophies on how to deal with such individuals. How do you maintain your composure and stay true to yourself when faced with difficult people? Are there any strategies or mindsets you find particularly effective in these situations? Thank you for taking the time to read my letter. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this topic in an upcoming episode. Keep up the fantastic work with the podcast. Your efforts are truly appreciated by all of us in the Ravens Vail family. Cynthia. Thank you for writing in, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. First of all, I'll say this. It's that episode, Cynthia. No, on a serious note, I'm going to tell you a life philosophy.
Okay.
And it is something that I think in my aged wisdom might help people. I used to tour around. I worked for a group where I would tour around and I would give motivational life change speeches. And one of the concepts that was on the roster for me to teach was called Q-tip.
Q-tip?
Not the brand,
Okay.
but Q-tip stands for quit taking it personal.
I like that. That's
Okay.
cool.
And that I've had to reevaluate that in regards to Karens. One of the things that I will say, and I'm not sure if it's a strategy or a mindset in this situation. So, Cynthia, I'm sorry, I don't know which to classify this as. But the first thing I have learned about people who are being Karens or Chads are, and also there are wonderful people named Chad.
Yeah.
But one of the first things that I think that you have to do is that you have to get quiet.
Yeah.
I have found that most people are disarmed when you're willing to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I have noted on social media and I've noted in real life that when you try to overtalk a Karen or a Chad, or if you are not listening to a Karen or a Chad, you will never get to the end or a resolution.
Nope.
I also know that there is a fact that some people are never happy.
That's so true.
And encountering some people who are never happy type people, sometimes you just have to get over it yourself and know that you are not going to be able to make their lives better.
Nope.
I say that because our corporate vision is to make the lives of people better. So we're always using that statement, how to make the lives of people better. And so I think you have to Q-tip it, not take it personal. But I will say this. I have taken on a new philosophy in my responses to like Karen and Chad comments on like Yelp and things about our corporate services. Most of the time in doing investigation, and I will say, before I say that, let me say we are, in our companies, we are more than willing to take responsibility for what we are responsible for.
Yeah.
Okay? We are more than willing to take our 50%, even if it's not our responsibility. But what I'm not willing to do any longer is to operate under the philosophy that the client or the customer is always right.
Nope.
I think that in customer service today, the customer is not always right. In fact, I think that the customer is often entitled, which does not make you right, or they are bullies, which makes you not right.
Yeah.
And so I instruct my staff, all of our employees have 100% permission that if they're being talked down to, if they're being talked to rudely, if a client or a customer is raising their voice, if they are cussing at them, especially if they're cussing at them, they can terminate the call, or they could just walk away from the situation. They also have permission 100% of the time to contact me.
Mm-hmm.
The employee can come get me or call me, and I'll come out and I'll deal with it. Because I was very upset initially when the whole gay wedding cake scenario took place. But you know what I took away from that?
What?
A positive.
What was it?
And that positive is, you can't come into my business and tell me how to run my business.
Yeah.
So, Cynthia, I think my advice is going to be Q-tip it. If you're in customer service, just know they don't have the ability to affect you if you don't let them.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they call you names or get loud, all of those things doesn't have to affect you, because it takes a pretty unintelligent, I guess that's a good word, unintelligent, and a person who doesn't have compassion to strike out at someone who has no power in the situation. I may have more, but I'm going to let you go on this.
I'll say, because for our listeners who have been following us for a while, you've heard me reference the fact that I used to work at Starbucks for 6.5 years or something like that. Used to be a manager. I worked out on the floor. And that's like Karen Central for people flipping out at you. Here's an important thing. If you work in the service industry, any of our listeners, and you have a quote-unquote Karen, the important thing to do is not just go, well, they're just terrible. They're just an awful person. I will say, as a caveat, there is probably 5% of people that act like Karens that truly are just miserable, and they really enjoy being mean and rude to people. But I like to use this term with my staff when I worked at Starbucks, that a majority of the people that act out in public and act rude and demanding, they're what I like to call conditional Karens. That 99% of the time, they are just like you and I, but for whatever reason, something's going wrong. Their car is about to break down, their marriage is falling apart, they're stressed out over the bills or something like that, and all they wanted was a coffee, and you made it wrong. And that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. It had absolutely nothing to do with the actual coffee. It was just their final thing that they could vent out, and they're going to lash out at somebody to feel some modicum of power. Is that right? Absolutely not. But if you, as a person standing there that has the compassion and empathy for another human being, instead of looking at the situation of saying, this Karen is freaking out because I didn't put whipped cream on her Frappuccino, and then instead ask yourself, what's going on with this person? I'm so sorry you're having such a bad day. You know, the only thing you can do is remake that drink or give them the service that they want. And then hopefully that makes a positive impact in their life. And then the moment they walk out the door, just go, man, I'm glad I'm having a better day than that person. Right?
Yeah.
So, Cynthia, we appreciate you writing in. I hope that the answers we gave you were pretty beneficial for you. Hopefully that gives you something to think about, okay? We hope you enjoyed this segment of The Brew. We want to hear from you, so we've made it easy for you to join in on the fun. Head on over to ravensvail.com, click the social media tab in the menu bar, and select The Brew. There you can submit your questions, jokes, and spooky stories to be featured on the show. We would love to hear from you and incorporate your submissions into our upcoming episodes. Whether you have a burning question about life or the paranormal, a spooky story to share, or a clever dad joke to lighten the mood, this is your chance to add your special touch to the cauldron.
Family, child hunger in America is a pervasive issue that affects millions of children. According to recent data, approximately 13 million children in the United States live in food insecurity households. This means that 1 in 6 children does not have consistent access to enough nutritious food. Hungry children are more likely to suffer from a range of physical and mental health issues, including stunted growth, weak immune systems, and increased susceptibility to chronic illness. Universal free lunches in schools are a straightforward and effective solution to this problem. By providing free meals to all students, regardless of their family's income, we can ensure that every child has access to the nutrition they need to thrive. The benefits of universal free lunches extend beyond individual health and academic outcomes. They also contribute to a more equitable society. When all students receive free meals, the stigma associated with receiving free or reduced lunches is eliminated. This fosters a more inclusive school environment where all children can focus on learning rather than worrying about where their next meal will come from. Policymakers must recognize the urgency of this issue and act with the swiftness and determination it deserves. The time for half measures and empty promises is over. We must demand that our leaders take bold and decisive action to ensure that no child in America goes hungry. Anything less is a betrayal of our values and a stain on our national character.
We have a couple of reminders for some upcoming events. First up, on October the 5th, Ed and Jared will unveil their highly anticipated Halloween episode, a top-secret project that's been in the works all year. If it's creepier than Jared's infamous Christmas episode last year, brace yourselves. Remember, Saturday, October the 12th is Appalachian Horror Fest. Unfortunately, tickets have been sold out since August the 15th, but never fear. Our extremely talented and magical sound engineer Nick DeVan will be on site to make sure we capture every scream, gasp, and laugh. We will also have a video team to capture all the wonderful stories and music, which will be available on our website after the show. Also, I can't say anything. Ed's got a wand pointed at me. But Ed has a super special announcement that will be made at AHF 2024, so stay tuned. Starting on October the 26th, Ed and I will treat you to a new episode each day for the 6 days leading up to Halloween. Trust us, you don't want to miss it. And finally, we've teased you about our special After Dark episode in previous shows. Get ready for a live, unfiltered session where Ed and I welcome a few guests to the G-Spot for drinks and a lot of tomfoolery. Block off the evening of Saturday, November the 16th from 7 p.m. until, I guess, whenever.
Until we're done.
We will have links to attend on our website.
Now, family, you adults have a few chores to do. Go on over to ravensvail.com and see about doing your chores on social media. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we've made available just for you folks. Like, listen, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you don't mind, leave us a good rating and a kind comment. You can find the Ravens Vail Cauldron Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for the Ravens Vail Cauldron Podcast and make sure you hit the follow button to stay up to date with our latest episodes. We just dropped one last night.
And family, don't forget to tell your friends about us, won't you?
So until next time, family, see you soon.
The Ravens Vail Cauldron is a production of Small Raven Media. Today's episode was hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer with co-host Jacob Garner. Audio engineering and sound design by Nick DeVan at Nicky D Sound. Copyrighted 2024, Small Raven Media. All rights reserved.